Just check I know how to make the machine work first. So just a little overview there of what I'm going to go through today. So just to start, I thought I'd touch on biosphere reserves, and I think there is still a bit of demystifying to do around what biosphere reserves are. But ultimately, they're special places for people and the rest of nature, the literal interpretation, I suppose, of man and the biosphere. And with the United Nations, it literally says in the title, I suppose, the key points, the educational, scientific and cultural organisation, those three pieces really summing up what it's all about, being a learning place for sustainable development. And UNESCO's Man in the Biosphere is in 759 biosphere reserves across 136 countries, so it has a really big reach, with about 5% of the globe actually covered with biosphere reserve sites. And obviously we are a small but very important part of that, with a significant part both of our land and sea covered, because it is all of our areas. The focus around the global functions is conservation of both biodiversity and culture, development which is sustainable, both human and economic, and learning and research, better understanding what we're doing, and also looking at how we can find new and better ways to do things in the future. And Tim stole my thunder, but we are, and you may have heard it said a few times at the conference, the only whole nation biosphere reserve, and I think that's something to be really proud of. And people have asked, well, what happens when others come along? Well, we'll always be the first whole nation biosphere reserve, and I think that's something to really grasp. But I look forward to welcoming other whole nation biosphere reserves, and I think that's part of the stewardship and the advocacy that we play our role in, is looking at how we can tell our story to other people and working across the European Man in the Biosphere networks, the UK Man in the Biosphere networks, to encourage other people to come on board. Our biosphere status recognises our environment, so how special our island and its seas are, and also how we protect and restore them as a nation. It recognises our community, whether Manx by birth or Manx by choice. We're proud and passionate people who absolutely care passionately about the island, the culture, the history, the heritage, the language, so many facets that are part of the biosphere. And also our prosperity, both economic and social, and that encompasses wealth, health and happiness. So many parts, I think, that really build in order for us to have true prosperity as a nation. So what does it really mean? It means we've got a lot to be proud of, but it also means it's not about perfection, and it means we still have a journey to go on. I think it's fair to say that no one ever achieves full perfection in the context of biosphere. We should always be striving for better. We should be looking at innovation and how we can improve. And being a UNESCO biosphere absolutely embeds that commitment to do better, to protect and restore the key reasons that we were designated in the first place, to learn and innovate new, better ways of living and doing business, and to truly invest in our environment, our community, and ultimately the prosperity that I talked about. So everyone really needs to play a part in order for us to achieve that. The biosphere status gives us a springboard to bring some of our ambitions to life, and it's really important to see everyone trying to make more, I think, of our biosphere status through the partner pledges that we have, and it's great to see many partners in the room, people I recognise here, but also I hope some people who might consider taking a partner pledge and becoming a biosphere partner, and anyone who wants to do that, we're absolutely open to have conversations. You can reach out to the biosphere team at any time. But we really want to place those biosphere values at the heart of decision-making across organisations of the island. From a purely financial perspective, UNESCO designations across the UK and Isle of Man generate about £151 million every year for the economy. But the true value goes beyond economics. We recognise that being a whole nation biosphere reserve is an opportunity, a unique selling point, differentiating us from other jurisdictions. And it provides us with a global platform, and it really does work in all contexts, from selling cheese to talking about education to insurance products. All of them benefit from the story that can be told about the value we place on sustainability and the biosphere as an island. And perhaps most importantly, it's a guide. It looks at how we can be a living laboratory, a place that really looks at positive change and explores how research can support us in that. Such as, for example, with the Innovation Challenge that Tim talked of just before. And also it's a badge that's recognised around the world, and it has to be used responsibly. And I reflect that as much as when we talk about biosphere reserves, there are people who don't know exactly what that means, there's very few people who don't hear UNESCO and understand inherently that something awarded by UNESCO is something that is really valuable and really important and something we should be proud of and cherish. So looking at biosphere specifically in a business context, we're really seeing biosphere being used as a driver for change across our partner bodies. And we've now got the Biosphere Partner Forum, and this is a photo from the first meeting back in October last year, where organisations have the opportunity to connect, share learning with each other, foster collaboration, and operate really as a hub for research where we can encourage innovation. We have businesses really embracing those biosphere values, with over 370 businesses and organisations now signed up as biosphere partners. And I say, though, there is always room for more. We know that being a biosphere partner, though, is not just a moment in time, just as being a biosphere reserve status is not a moment in time. We absolutely have to be looking at how we evolve, how we improve, and how we progress. And it really is part of a journey, and signing up as a partner and making the first pledge is really just the start. I think the other thing to say is that sustainability is inherently good for businesses, and biosphere is at its heart about sustainability. So we're currently undergoing the periodic review, and people may have heard a bit of talk about that. It's being submitted in a year and 6 days, not that we're counting, but it's a lot of work in DEFRA for a very small team. It's a very technical document that offers us a chance to reflect on the things that we've done, the things we've achieved, and also identify areas for learning. And it's a collaborative process. It involves engaging with stakeholders, and there's been a number of one-to-one interviews already conducted, working with our partners and the wider public, and then analysing and consulting to identify any areas of progress and areas where there's opportunity for improvement. Just to give a very quick idea of timelines, I just wanted to highlight a few points. So in September 2026, we'll make our formal submission to UNESCO. That then undergoes a review and goes for a decision around July 2027. During that process, we may well receive requests for additional information, clarification, and then there would be a resubmission potentially in September 2027. So that's absolutely normal if that does happen, not a reason to panic. Our status is retained all throughout the process, and around a third of biospheres do have to submit additional information, so that may well be something that happens. And at the same time as submitting that review to UNESCO, we'll also publish a State of Our Biosphere report, which is a really transparent look at where we are and also a catalyst for us having the conversation about where we want to go and looking forward to the next periodic review in 2036, because as I say, nothing stands still. So initial findings from our engagement have been that there really is a clear, strong support and appetite for more action. There's an understanding that we can capitalise on our biosphere reserve status, but that absolutely has to be done responsibly. There have been some concerns over whether it's value for money, is it worth doing? And I suppose my point would be it's a very small team, actually. It's a very modest team for the amount that's delivered across biosphere on the island in terms of events, in terms of talking at different conferences. There's just 2 full-time members of staff, and we have a limited term appointment at the minute. And then we also have a biosphere board that sits alongside that. And it's a very small, modest budget of £56,000 for the year that they have to spend. So it really is making a small amount go a long way, and I think that's something that really we should hold on to. We could do more if we had more. I'm sure of that, and that is something the Biosphere Board are looking at. How could we do that, but do that without it costing the taxpayer significant amounts more money? And I think there are some really exciting opportunities. Also looking at how we join the dots. People want to understand how can businesses and individuals contribute to our biosphere reserve, preserving our environment and heritage, our culture and language, and then in turn that benefits the economy. So it's a real sort of cyclical positive benefit upwards, but we need to look at how we connect those people. Some people think it's a determinant of planning applications, and that thread comes through when we've talked to people. as a spoiler, it's not. What it does do is it looks for us to embed policies that are around sustainable decisions, balancing that societal and community need with the conservation of environment and cultural heritage. So it's about balance. I think that's a real key part. And there's a strong need for a more strategic approach to research. That's come through, looking at high quality data. So we have a lot of successes, and we're in a strong position around the periodic review, but that absolutely is thanks to the hard work of our community. So beyond 2026, we're using that engagement process to shape the 10-year biosphere strategy that we'll be building and aligning those priorities set out in our island plan. Continuing to centre on the themes environment, community and prosperity alongside education and the economy. The strategy asks where we want to be in 2036 and beyond and how we'll get there. So it's an opportunity for everyone to have their say, to look beyond where we are now and set long-term ambitions. And the main focuses will be around what biosphere means. I think that really is something that's come out as a strong thread. How we can foster active participation. And I mean, there was an interesting, the last time I was on this stage actually, was in a partnership that the Comis Hotel have put in place with the whole of Queg School. They brought every school child from Queg down to the Comis. They did a whole sustainability and community day talking about our environment, doing work with bug hotels, talking about how biosphere interacts, looking at how to build eco hotels and what you might put in those, talking about herb gardens, and then transitioning children's ideas to be used in the kitchen here in the hotel. A real example of how we can foster positive relationships, and something that it would be great to see rolled out more broadly across the island. Looking at ways to fund and invest in the core themes, ensuring suitable governance in place, and we've had the establishment of the new Biosphere Board, and Jason will be joining me on the panel shortly as the chair. A driver for really exciting island-focused research, and we're already seeing opportunities around becoming an Isle of Curiosity. And we've got the UCM Research Festival, which I'd just give a plug, on the 16th and 17th of October at the Villa Marina. A real focus will be there on biosphere, and I think a real opportunity to look at how we're already conducting research, but opportunities to really increase that. Education needs to be linked front and centre around this, both within our education establishments, but also wider within our community, and embedding that biosphere thinking in our culture. I think the key for me is that we have to enable businesses, organisations and residents to be more biosphere. So just to finish, I think we can all be ambassadors for biosphere and stewards for our future. And I think that's absolutely imperative. And I hope we'll have some great questions that allow us to look at how that might happen and the role we can all play. So Guramayu, thank you very much.